It's time for AggroChat, the official podcast of the Tales of the Agronaut blog and stalwart gaming community, where we talk about stuff and things, and the stuff about the things, and sometimes gaming. I'm Belghast, and let's start the show. Hey folks, it's that time again. Time for another episode of AggroChat. This is episode 364. Tonight I'm joined by Emo.
Hello.
Grace.
Hi.
Kodra.
Once again, showing solidarity for the now recognized Paizo Union.
Yay. Tam.
Don't split the party.
Dalen.
Hey there.
So, it was a weird week in New World.
Oh.
Server transfers were opened, and
Yup.
in less than 6 hours, I think, we're slammed shut again.
Yep. Somebody neglected to ensure that when transactions were rolled back, they were rolled back on both ends.
Yes. So there was a
dear.
golden bug where you could give your money away and then transfer, and then, like, when you transferred, your state wasn't locked or something like that, and you could give the money away again and keep doing that, logging out, logging back in, and generating lots and lots and lots of gold because the system was never catching up with it. So they shut down transfers, which sucks because we had a bunch of people that transferred onto Minda, and like only some of them got transferred before the window because nobody expected it to open up like, I don't know, 3 o'clock in the afternoon and slam shut, by dinner time.
There's been a bit of that. Like apparently also Outpost Rush got turned on for a little bit.
For exactly one game last night.
Yeah, and then they shut it back down.
Yep.
What's Outpost Rush?
It is basically PvP for funsies.
Yeah, well, with rewards. So like you can get gold from doing it.
Ooh.
Which is a big deal because there's not a lot of ways to get gold in this game.
Yeah.
It's starting to become a problem.
Wait, so is it PvP that you, the normal person, can actually do?
You just
Yes.
queue for it.
You queue for it, and it's like, I think it's, I don't know if it's
20v20?
It's 20v20, just like capture points, like 3 locations on an island, and apparently the rewards are pretty good, win or lose. So they got that part right. If they could just, get it in a state where they can keep it turned on.
I am
Loot
shocked.
box.
Yeah.
Regardless. So
I am
Sounds
shocked.
pretty great, actually.
Yeah, it sounds great. I'm shocked they included a system that you can do without being like one of the select few who has accrued and amassed as much power as possible in this game.
Mm-hmm. And it's one of the things that they specifically mentioned, talking about ways for money to come into the game for level 60s, which would be great if it was turned on.
Now,
I don't even know if we made a full match on our server before it slammed shut again.
Now, is it something that I need to be 60 to do, or can I enjoy this content without
60? Yeah.
Wow.
Really...
So I will have to wait until I am 60 to be able to do any of the fun PvP in this game.
Look, you've got to play the game that you got to play the one game before you're allowed to play the other game. That's how level-based MMOs roll.
Supposedly there's arenas coming, and I don't know what the specifics are on that, but it's a battleground kind of scenario. But
I would still really like for them to have some way for people to make gold without PvPing, but starting to get the sense that this game doesn't really want to let me do that, and I don't know what that's going to do for my longevity in it, but right now I'm still leveling and still really enjoying that.
Yeah. Like there was fishing until the bots ruined that for us.
Yeah.
And once they get it all fixed, like the max level portals are the other thing they mentioned as a gold faucet.
Yeah, so I ran some level 65 portals. So there's a problem where the high-end level 65, like the greater rifts basically don't work right. So you can't really do those. But the lesser ones, you can close and it's fine. And I don't know, ran 35 or so in a row, trying to see if that was a viable way to like increase my snapshot. And it is, but like there's some caveats there. But I mean, I made a decent chunk of gold running around.
To increase your which what?
My snapshot. So we talked about this one other week, but basically,
Okay, probably the week I was gone.
There's a system like Destiny where your gear score per drop gradually increases over time, but it's on an item by item basis. So like if you get a helm to drop, that increases the snapshot, as people are calling it, for your helm slot.
I see.
So the takeaway from my experience is, yes, you can increase your snapshot by doing the rifts, but you have to basically open the box every time. You can't in mass open them because I didn't see that much improvement just chain opening them. But it seems like I would have if I kind of slow rolled it as I was doing the content. And there's a lot of time that you spend running to the next portal, so it's easy to open a chest while you're doing that. But that was fun. Like running around with a big group doing portals was a lot of enjoyment. So I will probably do that again soon. I don't think I specifically said this yet, but I hit 60 on Thursday, I think. And I have farmed 100,000 faction tokens to buy the set of gear. The set of gear, the starter faction gear for 60 is 100,000 tokens and 3,000 gold. And I went through this process to say that I did it, but Ellie just hit 60 a few minutes ago and spent 1,000 gold. It has a higher gear score than I do.
I was going to say...
Just buying random stuff on the auction house. So, like, he took the smarter route. I just wanted to have done this thing. I am not hurting for money per se. Like, I'm mostly fine. I am slowly increasing my gold gains. Like I'm sitting around. I spent a chunk on upgrades. So I spent about 800 on upgrades. I got a legendary shield and a really nice sword and a really nice axe, and some jewelry. And then I've spent the 3,000 gold on upgrades for the faction set. But all that told, I'm sitting at about 18,500 now, and it's starting to go back up again. Slowly, but it's starting to go back up again.
Now, how much money do you have in weekly upkeep?
Like 150 in one town and 300 or so in another town.
That's not bad.
No,
I mean, that must be some of the smaller houses then.
Yeah, I have tiny houses. Like I don't have a big house yet.
I have a tier 3 house and it's 572 gold a week currently.
I have a plan. Like once I can afford the 20,000 house, I'm going to buy a 20,000 house in Everfall and then get rid of my Windsward house, because Everfall is basically where I'm spending all of my time because it's the capital of the Purple Empire.
So I was realizing this because the slight tangent, I used to play in a D&D game where it's centered around a dwarven hold named Neverfall, the dwarven hold that would never fall to anyone because it was so well defended. Doesn't Everfall mean that this is a town that is just constantly losing wars?
I mean, it's a town that's constantly in wars.
Yeah, like, Green really wants to try and take this place. Or at least, drive purple crazy defending it.
I'm just saying that's a bad name for your town.
But like our best fighters will let other towns fall to protect Everfall, because that's basically what happened last night. Is First Light was a losing proposition. It is not a money making town.
I mean, nothing other than Everfall or Windsward is. Right.
So basically, like, for the longest time, so there's a bunch of mega guilds on the server from a PvP standpoint, and one of them is Apex Fishing Company, which owned Everfall and also owned First Light. But people timed flipping those two zones so that they had to be in two wars at the same time. Well, actually, two wars within like 30 minutes of each other.
I'm pretty sure your war window is set on a company level, not on a town level.
Right.
So if you own multiple towns and they both get flipped within, the same area, like you end up having to defend both of them simultaneously. Yeah.
Right, so they basically had to fight two wars in the same night.
And similarly, there was a war. Yellow attacked Brightwood, and
that's a whole other thing. We're going to get into that drama.
And pulled enough defenders away while Green was working on flipping Everfall, but Green was then able to flip Everfall. And so there's another war upcoming for Everfall.
Yeah. So yeah, we've had some movement. We're basically like this week, Purple took Mourningdale. So we now basically have the North.
Yellow has nothing now.
Yellow has nothing. The green is the South. Green is Monarch Bluff, Windsward, Reekwater, Cutlass Keys, and First Light.
Yeah.
And that's good for both sides to have contiguous zones, because if you have contiguous zones, you can access your bank in all the banks for a fee, and it's a costly fee. But like if there's just a single item that you need out of a bank really quickly, it's not too bad. Transferring a stack of things is painful. But so like I am set up in Windsward as my original capital city, and it is a green territory, and I don't get any faction discounts for doing business there. So like I am doing more and more in Everfall, and the market in Everfall is way more favorable than Windsward.
Yeah, I did the extensive run to mostly to test out if I could do it, but also to make this reroll character starting in Everfall, and I'm glad I did.
So the problem with Everfall though is there are no tier 1 houses in Everfall. Like you cannot buy the cheapest house in Everfall. Period.
Yeah. This was the thing I discovered when I was like, oh, I think I might have enough gold to buy a house. But I want it in Everfall. Oh, I can't do that thing.
Is housing a limited resource?
No. They're just
but the houses,
they just didn't place any.
Slots are limited.
There are specific tiers of houses in specific locations. Like there's all the houses exist like for real as you're running past them, and whoever has the nicest house in a particular location, that's the one that shows to people as they run past. But you can also have a house there, but a given house is of a given tier, and there just aren't any tier 1 houses in Everfall. Like Amazon did not place any there.
Everfall plays this weird role of being a starter zone and also kind of the mid-tier collecting point for all the zones.
Yeah, it's kind of a really weird choice. Like, I wouldn't have made any of the starter zones the ultimate hub. Like the ultimate natural hub. That just seems...
It's kind of like, having Elwyn Forest and also... God, what's the zone with the Defias in it? I'm drawing a blank on the name of it all of a sudden. Westfall. It's like having Westfall also be a newbie zone, but also being the second tier up zone. And that's really Everfall, because like all of the quest chains collect in Everfall.
I will also point out, if you go and ask, hey, where should I go to get iron? It tells you to go to Everfall. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not wrong. I have shared the double super secret route with Grace, and
it works.
It's good. It's real good.
Is the double super secret the one where you just do a loop around Everfall?
It's a very specific loop, and I'm not going to share it on the air.
Oh, I will have to reach out for the double super secret route.
I will map it out and share it with my my AggroChat compatriots, but I gave away my old loop, and it was a really good loop, but it was also heavily contested, and it went down into First Light. Like that was a really good loop. Like if no one was running it, you could easily get, I don't know, 4,000 iron ore in a single pass, but
wow.
But like this other one, I can anytime, any moment of the day I want to, I can run up there and get at least 1,500 iron ore. Not even breaking a sweat, no contention.
Oh my goodness, yes. Because like I was happy. I found like a 400 iron ore in a row, and I was like, oh man, I hit the jackpot.
Yeah, no, I mean I don't know why this is not farmed, but it isn't.
Because there are other farming routes, and so
there are other well-documented farming routes, and the truth is, they're not wrong. Those are better farming routes.
But no one knows about this one.
If basically like the one farming route that's always publicized that starts like up by Windsward and goes down into First Light, that one's amazing.
It's real good if you can get it to yourself.
Right, exactly. If you're there at like 5 a.m. and nobody else is on the server, you can just make bank. But like it's so contended that you're gonna get like maybe every 4th node if you're lucky, and you're gonna have somebody running either right in front of you or right behind you.
I was doing the Primrose Linen route, and that was also pretty contested.
Is this the appropriate time for me to mention how annoyed it makes me that farming the lowest level resources is still like the way to spend your time when you are high level?
Yeah, this is a reasonable thing to say.
That's not how this is supposed to work.
No, and
once you can mine star metal, like if the economy and everything was functioning the way it should, like your best use of time would be to do that and then buy iron for for refining it. But that's not where we are.
No.
Well, now
star metal ain't worth crap.
Is that where we are because of the period in time we are on this game where there's a lot of newbies still, or is it because iron is needed at every single tier?
So it's a second thing.
It's that's what I thought. A, iron is needed at every single tier, and B, the most efficient way to level all your crafts is to make the lowest level thing you can over and over and over and over and over.
So the thing is, like earlier today, I did a run for some star metal, and it was like a really quick run, and that gave me enough star metal that I had to make 3 separate iron runs in order to turn it into bars. And all told, I think I got 15 skill ups, and it took about 6 hours total time to farm the iron and convert it, and for the love of God, make more charcoal, because I never have any charcoal.
Oh yeah,
I'm always out of charcoal.
Like the best use of my time should not be running around chopping down the lowest level trees and hunting for iron.
Well, that makes no sense too, because like, okay, so when you're making charcoal, and this bugs me so much, it doesn't matter what you burn, it produces the exact same amount of charcoal.
Yeah.
Like I can burn weird wood, which is like, the next to the highest wood, and it produces the same amount of charcoal that the lowest level wood is. So why wouldn't I just hop outside of town, farm up all the tiny trees, and burn them down for charcoal?
It all burns the same.
If you got a lot of weird wood, it might be a better use to burn that, because
I'm not
high level mats aren't worth anything.
Because like it's gonna take me so much time to convert that to planks, because I have to get green wood, then get aged wood, convert that to lumber, take the lumber, convert it to planks with the weird wood. Yeah, it's
so
like, and I think I see what they were going for here. They wanted the lower level stuff to remain, for the demand to remain for it, but that only works if if they have it set up in such a way so that the lower level people mine the lower level stuff and sell it to the higher level people who need it, and but that's not how it's working.
But okay, what's weird about it though is I think their logic was, we don't want the lower level zones to see no foot traffic. And we'll have it so that the higher level players are going to be in these zones too, so they feel alive. But like, they already gave us enough incentive for that, because Orichalcum is a pain in the ass to get in the upper level zones where it spawns robustly. But there's a bunch of onesie twosie spawns in all of the low level zones that are way easier to get. So, like, I still have the incentive to go mop up those couple of pieces of orichalcum every time they spawn, bringing me to the low level zones than I do to, like, go into places that realistically I need a group to hunt to go get orichalcum.
I mean, also, even with that, the only low-level zones that feel at all alive are Everfall and Windsward.
Yeah.
Like, nobody's going to the other starter zones. They're pretty dead.
You know what's weird about that, though, is, like, the same can't be said about everything north of Everfall. Everything north of Everfall feels pretty alive, but the south is dead.
You know what listening to this makes me think of? Because I've been amassing materials, but I haven't really been crafting anything. And eventually I'm going to bother doing that. But it makes me think of Crusader enchants circa like January, February 2005.
Crusader enchants had required you to run not like raid level content, but still like high level dungeon content, I thought, to get what you needed.
There were a bunch of lower materials that went into a Crusader enchant other than those two Crusader orb things.
Yeah, but I thought the Crusader orbs were like far and away the most expensive thing.
Oh, honestly, getting the blue shards were probably worse.
Well, yeah, and that was the thing that I was thinking about, was that when I cared about a Crusader enchant, the hard part were the orbs.
Well, and probably even worse than Crusader was Mongoose, which required
Mongoose
a bunch
was awful.
of air elemental parts that you had to go farm low-level stuff to get.
Yeah, but Mongoose didn't exist when the game launched. And I'm thinking about, like, it took a goodly amount of time for enough items that people disenchanted to actually exist in the world to have a supply of large brilliant shards. And it was just like, it's interesting thinking about, I wonder what the game economy looks like without any tweaking a month from now, or 2 or 3 months from now.
The problem with the game economy right now, today, is everything is either really expensive or has no value at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or negative value if you you actually try and sell it.
Yeah.
Because if you don't realize that you should just break everything in half, you can lose a lot of money in this game trying to sell it.
I throw so much stuff on the ground because it is more economical for me to throw things away than it is to try to sell them on the auction house.
Yeah, because there's a flat.
Them, you at least get half a coin.
But salvageable though.
Right, my all the potions I make for skill ups and things they get tossed out.
The iron arrows and cartridges that I pick up out of boxes.
Yep.
The lodestone that I mine because I get skill points for mining it.
You eventually need lodestone, but you don't need lodestone fast enough for you to actually do anything with it.
Throw it out the window.
And it's everywhere, and no one seems to care about it. Mm-hmm. And if you really need lodestone, there's bears that you can mine for lodestone.
Yeah, I found some of the mineable bears.
Yeah, I mean, like,
weird time.
It's like, okay, so have you ever noticed that, like, the Weirdwood spawns are no longer in contention?
I have, in fact.
It's because that is the least efficient way to get Weirdwood. There are these wood dog things in some of the higher level zones that are angry earth mobs that you can harvest, like basically chop apart for Weirdwood. And they spawn really quickly. So you can just sit there and farm these wolves in like 3 or 4 or 5 zones and have an unlimited supply of Weirdwood. So like the spawns that used to be in contention in all the low level zones, nobody cares about it anymore. Because like once you're of a sufficient level, you'll never get your Weirdwood that way. That's the worst way. This
game is silly sometimes.
Yeah.
It's really silly.
I mean, what am I doing while we're podcasting? I'm looking for iron ore.
But I mean, and this is another thing is like, all right, I think I'm lower level than most, well, but probably not Tam, but like everyone else. I'm 28 and I'm like, I want to be done with all of these 1 to 25 zones, but I really shouldn't because I need to get my crafting up.
So here's the thing, and this is me coming to this realization, and it's the wrong message to deliver, but I hit a point at 50 where I was just tired of trying to get gear and keep up that, and because like the difficulty of encounters increased, but like it felt like my ability to tackle them wasn't increasing equally. So I just wanted to get to 60 so that I could start to get what is final gear and start to piece together like my gear set. And I realized that I have been leveling wrong this entire time. If I only cared about leveling, what I did was gather up some iron ore, gather up some hemp, gather up some leather, and went from town to town to town doing town board quests. And in 3 days, I went from 54 to 60. Like, the amount of experience gain you can get from town board quests.
Oh yeah, that's all I've been doing.
Outstrips everything you could possibly do.
Yeah, that does depend upon the towns having town board quests. Run into that problem more than once.
Well, so that is a problem where that was what was happening with the southern towns, like Cutlass Keys and First Light. Nobody was spending any money. Like the town board quests exist because someone spent money to make improvements to the town. And like,
but the towns are a whole, so, and nobody goes there, so why bother?
Well, and like once you progress to a certain point, it's like 15,000 gold to start a mission to upgrade something.
I will also point out that there are towns that get to be max level and then they don't have town board quests. So I hope you aren't coming to the game at this point because all of that great quest XP is unavailable to you.
Well, but every couple days a corruption invasion happens, which are currently unbeatable, and downgrades 4 things. So whoever holds that town has to spend like 50, 60,000 gold to upgrade the town back to the point it was.
I'm sorry, I feel like you might have just glossed over something that sounds like a glaring problem.
That they're unwinnable? Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
I mean, people are getting better at them. I think people have actually successfully, like, defended well enough that only 2 things got downgraded.
Right. There is rumor that on one server in the EU, someone won one. And it is the stuff of legend that people speak of, that someone won one. I don't know why they're unbeatable. So apparently there's just some aspects of it that are bugged right now, that stuff spawns into quickly.
Now, is this another thing that you only get to see if you're friends with the cool people who run the server?
Yep.
Yes, because the way the system works is you sign up to fight in the invasion, and the governor of the town gets to pick 10 of the people, and the remaining 40 get filled randomly. But the governor can then kick people and let new people get pulled in at random, and they can just keep doing this, kicking people over and over and over until they've got the 50 people they want.
I wish I was a cool person.
And when this is going on, faction chat is a lot of, WTF, I just got kicked.
Yeah. And of course their defense for that is, look, we need to try and actually win this so the town doesn't get, downgraded.
We would
which,
rather
I don't know, my
30,000.
response my response is kind of like, you're not going to win anyway.
Right.
Like,
well, but
just
no,
let people play the game.
They would rather spend 30,000 gold to upgrade 2 things than 60,000 to upgrade 4 things.
Yeah.
Yeah, like there's issues. And
I mean, it's hard to even get that mad at them for playing the game the way they're being incentivized to play it.
No, they're
I'm zero
Don't
at
hate
the players. Like, they're doing what is best underneath crappy circumstances.
Yeah, well, they are following what the system's incentives have shown them.
Yep.
This game is a game that caters to the minority. Hard.
And there's another situation where gold income is a problem, because one of the ways to earn gold at higher levels is to fight in these invasions and in wars, because you get coin for fighting in those. So if you're one of the 50 people that gets to fight because you know the people in charge, then that's great.
You and then spoils of war box with some good loot and some gold.
Yeah, and then in theory, you would spend some of this gold buying stuff from the lower level people who are harvesting the lower level stuff that you need. Except, no, the most efficient use of your time is to just go harvest that stuff yourself and hoard your gold like a dragon, because that's what happens in these economies. People hoard things. They learned this in Ultima Online, that players are often not rational, rational in the, like a machine sense. They hoard things.
We deal with that. Yes, players do this. And it shouldn't come as a surprise to any game designer or game economist anywhere that people are not rational actors. They're just not. Trying to build systems that work when people are rational actors isn't effective.
Yeah, and I think that maybe one of the problems that we're running into here is that they built New World on the assumption that their players were perfect spheres.
Spherical cows.
And there's a common sort of game design. There's a certain type of game designer who will snidely comment that you can't design a game through spreadsheets. And it is often used to decry math as a thing that should go into game design. But to some extent, it's also true. You can't design a game with only math because people don't operate that way.
I feel like the economy of this game was absolutely designed in a perfect environment.
Well, I mean, we touched on it a bit ago. Yellow doesn't have any zones anymore. This is not due to people acting rationally.
So we're gonna get into the story of Jade, which is okay. So first of all, Minda is now infamous in New World circles because a Reddit post was made that got picked up by several gaming outlets and has now told the story of Jade. Jade was a person and a company.
Named the company after himself. Always a good sign.
Yep. So that's basically like me calling something Belghast the company. So Jade was a pain in the butt, was a horrible actor on the server, was a drama bomb from day one, begged people for gold so that they could establish a town, refused to defend another yellow territory, Covenant territory, because not my guild. So it ended up so that the final yellow territory was theirs up in the northernmost holdable territory on the northeast quarter of the map called Mourningdale. Mourningdale is literally Windsward flipped on its side. It's basically Windsward rotated. So in theory, it should be another good crafting hub for the end game because all the machines are really handy. And it borders several of the unholdable territories. So it's kind of a port of last call before you get into no man's land.
You'd think it would be a good place to be able to get back to relatively cheaply, right, and, craft your stuff and sell or store it.
So
you would think.
A bunch of allegations have come out. Number one allegation is that apparently Jade had been taking the gold that they were making and paying Syndicate to queue for wars on their behalf to hold the territory. So basically using Syndicate players as mercenaries to make sure that their territory could hold steady up in the north.
I mean, not entirely unreasonable if you if you have money on top of what you need to maintain the area.
And if it were Windsward or Everfall, I could see that working. Because those are rich territories. I could see them paying less rich territories to come defend them.
Yeah.
Mourningdale doesn't have much of a purse to spend on not a really deep war chest. So I think they kind of just went broke up there. It had been, I don't know, probably 2 weeks since any town board projects had been posted in Mourningdale. The whole unwilling to help defend First Light caused a mass exodus from the guild. And all of a sudden, Jade decided that they were going to throw the territory and let someone else come get it. Now, Cozy Cafe is who currently owns it right now, and they're a pretty nice syndicate company, and they took it seriously. Like, they did not go into this battle expecting it to be thrown. Like, they stacked the deck, and in fact, like, nobody fought in an invasion in Everfall that was happening at the same time, so they could make sure that, like, this war went off smoothly. Jade publicly talked about throwing the war in chat. Supposedly, like, there was this list of level 60 players that had queued up from both the Marauder side and Syndicate trying to hold the territory.
Which, like, honestly, I mean, I get not wanting Yellow to lose their last territory, but having a territory in the hands of someone that does absolutely nothing with it isn't helping anybody. So,
but, like, there was an effort to hold the territory because people didn't want it to fall, didn't want Yellow to have no place left on the map. And instead, Jade handpicked a bunch of level 20 and 30 players that queued, and there's screenshots of them saying, okay, the only way that we win this is through a glitch, so take off all your armor and run into battle without any weapons or armor. And everybody believed, apparently. And the entire war was over in like 4 minutes.
Wow.
And so, like, this has been the drama that everyone is talking about on the server. Jade has become the boogeyman of the server.
I mean, so there's a couple of other things I feel like we should probably touch on, which is the fact that, like, somehow you have made a 3-faction PvP that is actively leads to 2-faction PvP.
3-faction PvP never really works unless it's a controlled environment. So, like, even in Dark Age of Camelot, which everyone holds up as the example of, you know, shining 3-faction PvP, like, every server I played on 3 different servers, and they were all severely dominated by a single faction. And then usually the other 2 factions had to band together to stand a chance against them.
Yeah, but you could still band together to stand a chance, and it was valuable. There is no banding together in this game. Like, one side wins all.
Yeah, I mean, you can queue to fight for another faction.
Sure, but the other faction gets all of the benefit.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
So I mean, in theory, if the company that's holding the town is doing a real good job, is like keeping taxes low, and you don't want to risk your property tax going up high, like I could see, you know, pitching in to defend the town.
That's like for a local citizen and whatnot.
But yeah,
but like that's not what I'm kind of getting at. What I'm getting at is like, you don't have a place to go now. Like, you don't have your home base.
Yeah.
But you get the benefits if you get to fight in the war.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean,
you do get rewards for that.
But you don't get the reduced cost travel.
No.
That's the big one. Like, that is honestly the biggest thing, is reduced cost travel.
And you don't get the free resources, because there's always like an iron cache or a linen cache or something in town.
Yeah, I mean, and those are nice, but, like, it's not enough.
It's not enough to
make it
matter.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't get 1,500 ore in a pass, so I feel like it's pretty great getting a free 30 every day. Clearly, I need to be better.
Look you up with some routes, and you should be able to get all the iron ore you want. But yeah, like, it's that conversation has dominated the server all week long since it happened.
I mean, I feel really bad for anyone who's playing yellow.
Yep.
But I also feel like,
okay, so what's weird about that, though, is this week I've seen a lot of people shift to yellow to try and fix the imbalance.
Yeah, so at least there's that going on.
Yeah, like the thing about 3-faction PvP is it works really quite well, provided that there is factional fluidity.
Sure. Other than I feel bad for yellow, what is the incentive? And this is where I feel like, boy, do MMOs need to learn from FF14 how to bribe players into doing the thing they want them to do. Because when there's a faction imbalance, people should be incentivized to switch to yellow. But,
so in theory, if you switch to yellow, you have a better chance of getting picked for wars. That's about it.
If you're interested in open world PvP, it's more likely that you'll experience open world PvP if you're the odd man out. So okay, let's talk about open world PvP, because I farmed 100,000 tokens using PvP. I happened to have one really great night when I could, basically every 5 minutes I was getting 2,500 tokens. Actually, it was closer to 3,000 tokens every 5 minutes. But it was a night when there were a lot of wars going on. Nobody was in the water at all during that time. And I could run out to the place that I'm supposed to be, hang out there for a few minutes, pick up 2 spy caches, run back to town, collect my tokens. And I ran that loop over and over and over, and it was great.
Yeah, well, there were wars, and then also, I believe at the time that you were doing that, Green was actively working on
trying to flip towns,
flipping Everfall. So they were all there.
So that was great. Today, like last night, I couldn't make it all the way to the finish line, so I was 1,500 tokens away, or 15,000 tokens away for my last piece of gear. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to start doing this again today. Nope, there were lots of people out and about, and I did not last very long. And I had to wait until I could exit town with a group of players, and there was safety in numbers.
I've gone on this rant before. This game should not take away rewards if you have completed the quest and die.
Yeah, the first time I died, it was because a level 63 boar attacked me, and I was dealing with that, and a player ran over there and killed me while I was fighting the boar. The next time, apparently the same player had gone and found some of their friends, and I ended up going along the route and suddenly had 3 of them gunning for me and chased me around for a while and eventually killed me. Then finally I waited until there was a swarm of purple people exiting at the same time.
I mean, if there was a swarm of purples doing PvP stuff in that zone, then that probably explains part of why there were green and or yellows there defending.
Green's
or vice versa.
Happy to pick off singles, but they don't mess with a mob. But that said, like, it was kind of fun to run the little loop, and I could absolutely see joining in the shenanigans and helping to flip a zone, because it's a lot like when they flip zones, it's people in mass running these missions for faction and tokens that eventually adds up to, like, I myself, I think I was the only one running missions, and my whatever, I don't know, 85,000 tokens was enough to flip the zone 4%. So like I could absolutely see like just joining in a Zerg and running missions together. And not that there's a lot of benefit in it, but I could see doing it like that would be enjoyable.
I mean, it's an opportunity to turn a zone purple, I guess.
Yes, yeah.
In theory, if we wanted to do this thing, being involved in doing that would mean that we could be the ones that, declared war and tried to capture it.
And the reality is, it's who you know. Like always in these games. So, like, I am ranked as a governor on the Syndicate Discord, and that's where all the war plans are discussed. And if you want to be in the wars, you need to be in the Discord. meeting and greeting the people to get invited and picked for the teams. Like, that's just the reality. Because that is the central planning place, and every faction has one. But it still sucks if, like, you're a player that just happened to land on here and may or may not be in a company and is trying to fight, and all you get is really unfortunate, painful PvP in the world when you're out by yourself and get swarmed by a pack of the other faction. So the thing that I hope more than anything is that somehow enough people can stick around to 60 to where I can have a group that runs around and does elites in the high-end zones, because the end game of this game is very much like old school EverQuest. You want to be grouped up as much as humanly possible because the stuff that's there hits real hard, and it's real hard to solo, and if you're with a group, you can just roll through mobs and farm drops and farm bosses, and like the end game reminds me a lot of what it used to be like to go hunt Cebalus or something like that. There's a ton of these open world areas, and it seems like that's the intent of the game for getting gear, is to farm those, not necessarily farm dungeons, since they made dungeons harder to get into.
I love the idea of like, I have many complaints with old school EverQuest, to the point where I don't think reminds me of old school EverQuest is a unqualified good. But one of the things that EverQuest understood was, let's give you a bunch of different zones that you can be in that are worth your time. And like, EverQuest to some extent has had the problem of, like, the reason that EverQuest fell out was because EverQuest's philosophy was you should always need a group for anything you might ever do. And that is just flatly incompatible with the way a lot of people want to play video games. But like, that concept is there, and it's super great. If you're like, hey, there's something worthwhile for you to do that is open and unstructured and variable and not 100% predictable.
And right now, the game has 5 zones that are basically max level zones. And each of those 5 zones has, I don't know, a dozen separate camps that are large enough to support more than one people at them, or more than one group at them. So it reminds me a lot of the camps from EverQuest, where, like, I'm doing Orc 3, and you stay at the camp and you fight until you get tired of being at the camp, and then somebody comes in behind you and takes over when you're done. Because like, you're forever hearing people saying, like, okay, doing portals in Great Cleave, looking for more people in faction chat, and like, you just literally go out there, and there'll be, I don't know, 4 or 5 groups of people rolling around, and they hunt the zone one direction, then they teleport up to the top and run back through again and do it over and over and over until people get sick of it and drop out. And it's very fluid as people are coming in, they're getting invited to the groups, and it's
like running events.
The individual
zone metas.
Yeah. The individual portals give you enough Azoth to pay for the teleport costs to, like, go back up top when you're done, and they tend to run on a teleport to teleport loop, because like, there's teleports that are inside of the zones, sub-zone teleports. I think they're called spirit shrines that you can find, and the higher level zones seem to have more of them. But like, similarly, there's just elite camps where people, like, run a circuit and they farm the bosses along that circuit, and every 15 minutes or so a boss respawns, giving you a chance it drops again. The bosses seem to have a very static EverQuestian drop table. Like, I hunted one out in Brightwood that dropped like level 50-ish gear if you killed it enough times. So like, there's a really cool game there, but like, I think it's a game that you're definitely going to want to bring a group, and it probably needs to be a fairly balanced group of, tank, healer, some DPS. But it also seems like the tank is kind of flexible. It probably needs to be somebody that's fully spec'd into Constitution. But like as to what they're doing to tank, I don't think matters as much. You need to be able to block. You need to have a Carnelian in your weapon. But past that, I think it's real flexible who can be a tank.
Need something with a taunt mechanic.
Yeah, and you probably want to be wearing heavy armor. But, I mean, you could probably tank with a rapier. I don't know.
I mean, one of the trees has a taunt in it, so I assume it's intended for tanking.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I've noticed most of the things have a tankier tree and a more pure DPS-y tree. I mean, that's absolutely the case with, like, Great Axe and Hammer.
Yep. I like Hammer.
Hammer tanks are a real thing. Like, there's probably some bosses that, I don't know, might need some of the perks you get in the sword and board tree. But, like, I think most, like, elite groups can easily run with a non-sword tank. And realistically, like, you're gonna do this content to get the drops so that you can build the keys to do dungeons. And that seems to be kind of the circle. Is like, you do a bunch of outdoor content that is free and doesn't, have an entrance requirement, and then you craft a thing that allows you to do the more limited content.
I mean, that sounds reasonable. So one of the things I will say is that thing you were saying where you just went and did board quests and like, wow, this is great XP. Yeah, it felt like great XP to me, that too. That's what I did. And now I'm into the point where I'm like, I feel like I am missing something because my main quest is so far behind.
Yep.
Like, you talk about doing portals and stuff. I can't do those. I'm level 28 and I can't do those.
Because you don't have an Azoth staff that is locked. Like, your Azoth staff upgrades come as part of the main story quest.
All right. That's kind of what I was trying to figure out. That's annoying.
Yeah. On the bright side, you do get the base Azoth staff before the first required dungeon.
Okay.
You have it in the first dungeon.
But, I was well into the 30-ish levels before I got that far in the quest.
Yeah, and like I've been going up and I'm like, oh, these are these cool elites. I'm gonna do this fight, and I'm like, oh, it says I need an Azoth staff. Well, I guess I better go do something else.
Like, I have an Azoth staff 3 right now, which means I can't close the high-end portals because we've not mustered a group to do the depths. And I could pug it, I just didn't want to. I figured eventually we would end up with enough people that could do depths.
I still haven't even seen group content in this game. Hopefully it's good.
It's perfectly cromulent. It was fun.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, I've only done the lowest level dungeon.
Yeah,
that's the easiest one.
The next dungeon requires a lot more coordination, and it takes longer as a result, but it was fun. And the depths is just number 3, and it's a 45 zone.
I'm guessing that in this game, you can well out-level a dungeon.
Oh, yeah. But the weird thing is the dungeon quest still rewards a not insignificant amount of experience.
Mean that
but there's no like
sync level.
I have to go pug it with some randos to get the experience of it.
Right. I mean, like, you can do it at any level. Like, I got Zellybelly joined the server with her guild of Covenant folks, and they had never run Amron, and they needed a fourth. So I pretended to be DPS and ran them through Amron today, and it was fine. Like, I got some gold.
No, I mean, but are we talking like on the scale of FF14 level sync to I am hiding from enemies while my friends boost me in Diablo?
Somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
Having been pretty much carried through the first dungeon, I still felt like I was contributing while I was healing things and doing some damage, but I was definitely still being carried. it was definitely way faster than it would have been with an at-level group, but it was still fun.
All right.
It wasn't hide in the corner Diablo type sadness.
Getting carried through dungeons is like one of the least fun things I can think of doing.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it because their dungeon style is not the evolved dungeon style that came out of WoW.
It's very fluid. Groups are just very fluid. Threat seems like it's pretty fluid. Like, it's just much more chaotic than dungeons I've been used to.
What you're describing sounds a lot like a Guild Wars fractal. Is it similar to that? Actually, I guess I'm asking the wrong people.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean,
it honestly reminds me more of an Everquest or DAOC dungeon. Like, because back then, it's mostly you're just going to DPS the boss down, and one of you is sturdier than the others, and that person is going to try really hard to hold the thing, but really, everyone is DPS except for the person who's healing, and is also sort of DPSing because healing is DPS.
This doesn't sound dissimilar from an EverQuest or a Guild Wars 2 fractal.
Yeah, right?
It's kind of similar.
I mean, realistically, what I've experienced so far is there's usually 2 real bosses that have mechanics. And then there's a bunch of gold bar elites that do the thing that type of mob does. But they're spread out enough to where you got like a couple packs without them, and then a gold bar elite pack, and then a couple more packs without them, and then a gold bar elite pack, and then eventually you wind your way around to the actual real boss mechanic encounters. And they're not real deep in mechanics, so you can kind of zerg your way through it without, like, I specifically did not tell people about a mechanic this morning just because it is the lowest risk way to find out about how this one mechanic works. So I let them get hit by it so I could explain it afterwards what they were getting hit by. It's like I've encountered the mechanic that the foreman does, the purple chain thing, in a lot of game zones. And but it's higher risk to fail that mechanic then than it is in that first dungeon where, like, you can pretty much fail that mechanic and still survive, and it was way easier for me to explain what it was doing after they had gotten hit by it. I mean, basically it's like there's this area, and you either need to be standing in it or standing outside of it, and if you cross the barrier in between, a thing happens. And so long as you're like either content to stay in the thing or stay outside the thing, it fades away on its own. The other thing that I found weird this week is how little of a difference me dropping all of my strength and going pure con actually made in my ability to kill things.
I mean, you don't have no strength, I should point out. Your gear is putting you up to, like, the first break point.
Yeah,
I mean, from what I understand, you don't want to go above 300 on something in any case, and yeah.
Oh,
so, like,
except for Constitution, which doesn't seem to have diminishing returns.
I mean, even then, you might be better off putting those points into something else so you can get one of those every 50 levels bonuses. I don't know.
So right now, I have 104 strength, which gives me 2 pips. So, like, every 50 points, you get some special ability.
But notably, you're already at the first tier of diminishing returns for damage from strength.
So, and then on Constitution, I have everything but the last pip. I'm at 290 out of 300.
Yeah, because so when I did the thing, I took myself down to 49 strength, and I saw, okay, make sure that this tooltip does actually do what it says it does. It does. You get 5% more damage on light strikes at 50 strength. So that's probably worth it for a lot of people just to get 50 strength for that. And then every 10 points up to 100 is about 7% damage increase. And then every 10 points, I think from 100 to 200 is like 5% damage increase. And then I think it's 3% after that. Gets real dire after that.
I won't lie, I kind of want 300 Constitution just so I have a chance of instant harvesting a tree. I would love to have 300 Strength for a chance of instant harvesting a ore node. But like, I feel like I have to harvest way more trees than I do individual ore nodes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, trees are everywhere, so yeah.
I'm currently a zillion points in int for the Frost Gauntlet, and dumped my dex, and my rapier is still just fine. Like, if I pump dex and leave int somewhere terrible, my Frost Gauntlet is very sad and pathetic and not fun to use. But if I do the opposite, then it doesn't. Then the rapier doesn't come even close to tanking, and the Frost Gauntlet is super powerful.
I mean, you do get some damage increase from int on rapier, right?
I mean, in theory, but like, and yes, but like the difference between 5 and 50 points of dex in rapier was pretty negligible.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I've not played around. This is all of my testing was with hammer and great axe. I was purely doing those weapons. But like, this got me looking at, hey, maybe it does make sense to have a second stat so that I'm not so over leveraged. And so that's why I picked up the spear and discovered that, you know what? I was really, really coddled by how generous the Great Hammer's hits detection is. This game feels super janky playing with a not Great Hammer.
I mean, I've gotten used to precision hits with the Frost Gauntlet and the rapier.
Yep.
Because those are little pinpoints.
A thrust weapon hits a point.
Yep.
Well, but you can't aim down, right?
Yeah, you can.
Yep. It's kind of awkward sometimes, but you kind of have to sometimes.
You do. Those like stupid crawling things, yeah, you gotta aim down for them.
Okay.
Yep.
It doesn't aim where the cursor is.
I find myself very happy on the regular that those things have lower health than other enemies at the same level.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kill them with an arrow and move on.
Yeah, but I regularly whiff random hits on things with the Frost Gauntlet just because it's a tiny projectile and it just whips by something sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Hammer also has a bunch of stuns, which makes things stand still for you to continue hitting them, which feels pretty useful. It also has things where I feel like there are some trap options in Hammer that encourage you to use different moves as your openers, and I think those might be wrong because you'd rather open with a stun so you can deliver your full volley.
Kind of alternate back and forth between Great Axe and Hammer as my secondary weapon. Like, if I'm tanking a dungeon, I'm probably going to run Hammer because Destiny's Path is my favorite way to pull. So I can, like, do that big, broad line attack that's going to hit everything in the pack, and then as they're running in, shield charge them. Because the legendary shield that I picked up has a cool thing that every time I shield charge, it pops Fortify, which basically is this massive armor buff that I have like 3 or 4 ways to generate, which means I'm going to take way less damage for a short period of time.
I don't know. I'm enjoying my life staff and rapier, which means that either I'm going to kill things from really far away, or they're going to heal me while I poke at them with my pokey sword.
Life staff was really fun. Like, I wanted to make the paladin build work, and apparently it's a thing, but you have to put focus points.
Mm-hmm.
Like one focus points.
Why not? A little bit of
Bell doesn't want to even entertain the possibility that someone might think he wiggled a finger once.
So you say that, but like recently I spent like 3 healers in a row healing dungeons in Final Fantasy 14.
But I guess wouldn't like, doesn't that sound like a good way to be a strong tank? Is I am very hard to kill, and also when I am low on health, I can heal myself.
But it does limit your ability to swap out into other things, which is a thing that's frustrating to me. It's like I have put all my points in focus, and then it limits my ability to play around with other builds.
Yeah. Well, and this is where it's like, okay, so how important is it to get focus above a certain number? Like, how well does focus scale at increasing your healing potential?
I think there has to be a breakpoint that I never hit, because like I had no focus gear, so I had 5 focus, which is basically the 5 points everybody gets into every combat.
That seems probably insufficient, but I bet at 100 focus, you'd be doing quite well.
It was grand until around 25, and then I just couldn't heal enough to make it worthwhile to switch over. Like, there was never a situation where me just taking a healing pot wasn't better.
I mean, yes, and? Healing pots have a cooldown.
Okay, so...
They do, but it's pretty short.
It's really short.
Yeah, it's
but
really
also
short.
It felt like I was fighting a losing battle, because when I didn't have my sword and shield out, I was taking so much more damage, more than I could heal. So like I was either like hitting a point of equilibrium where like, no, my health wasn't dropping anymore, but also I wasn't dealing any damage anymore. Or I was fighting a slow battle of attrition to where my health was continuing to drop, but slightly less. Whereas the people that go like half focus, half con, can just keep themselves alive forever. But I don't know, like I didn't enjoy swapping to life staff enough to make it worthwhile. Because like a lot of times it's swap to life staff, drop a healing puddle, then fight in the puddle. But things like to push you out of the puddle.
That's why I like the spell that you target the enemy with, and then it does some damage to the enemy and has a healing aura around it until it wears off. So it's like, oh, I damage this thing, and then standing next to it will just heal me for a while.
That is the money ability for like portals or any kind of group activity where everybody's just getting latent healing.
Yeah, I believe it. It seems real useful.
They did take away stacking healing circles, because it used to be that every healing circle healed everyone that was standing in it. So like when you were running like 5 groups at an activity, everybody had a healing circle down. So you were just like insta healing constantly.
It does seem way too good.
Yeah, it's the mechanic that's really scary. I've only had to deal with once or twice is something called Blight. And it's kind of like corruption, but like it's a super dot version of corruption. And while you're blighted, you just take like, I don't know, 1,000 damage a tick. And now that I have 14,000 hit points, like I can survive it for a while, but man, it hurts. Now that Eliyon is also 60, I am wondering what sorts of shenanigans the two of us can get in together that I couldn't easily do solo. Ellie is not playing a healer. Ellie is melee DPS.
Yeah, you need Warren for that.
Yeah. Although, you and Warren aren't very far behind.
It's true. I'm getting there.
Yeah, Thalen, you pulled way out in front of me. I've been too busy crafting to actually level. I'm too easily distracted by shiny resource nodes.
I mean, a lot of this leveling is from crafting, but mostly I hit the boards up and go out and go to the places that are like for the location quests and just harvest absolutely everything I see on the way there and back, and then craft a bunch of stuff. And back and forth.
Like the fact that it was important that I kept the resources in the raw form, but so long as I carried a little bit of a bunch of different resources and went from town to town to town, I could knock out these quests and get a shocking amount of craft experience too. Because like doing one of the armor crafting turn-ins from the town board is worth surprising amount of craft experience.
It's a pretty good chunk. Yeah, I definitely like those. I tend to pick up when I see them, and any of the cooking and alchemy ones.
Oh, is it experience in that crafting?
Yes.
Oh, that's handy.
Yeah, particularly those ones that are like craft a particular thing that they give you a recipe for.
Oh.
Like it's generally like it's a single craft that gives lots of XP.
Well, it's twofold. It's a large craft, but also you get a little bit of crafting experience when you do the final turn in as well.
Mm-hmm.
They're usually pretty easy.
Yeah, they're really easy. Like, it's way easier than crafting the equivalent amount of armor that an armor crafting quest would be.
Yeah. I was ignoring the cooking ones because they had a tendency to need things that I didn't have a lot of, but I pick up everything that I run across as I go through the world. So now I've built up a whole bunch of different cooking mats.
Well, and if you're running between multiple towns, you're going to encounter a lot of different resources that you don't find in any one zone.
Mm-hmm. I also discovered that I guess there's a market for hyssop. I guess probably people are leveling alchemy just by making lots and lots of weak healing potions.
Yeah.
Well, but I'll sell it. Whatever.
Well, weak healing potions is one of the turn-ins.
It's one of the turn-ins, yeah. Well, yeah. So I hold on to some for that too. But
one I noticed like here recently, weak healing potions have been selling for 2 gold a pop on the board.
That's funny because I checked that first and there weren't any like sell orders or high buy orders. I wish there was a way to view like a history of stuff.
The market board is bad. It's real
bad. Like I've just got to guess. Like, is this going to actually sell for this price? I don't know.
Oh, I hate the market board so much.
You would think a company that knows what you want to buy before you even know you want to buy it would have better market board in their game, but it's not good. And again, it's the initial 5 gold, 4 gold, whatever buy-in that makes it real punitive to try and sell anything.
Yeah, that's awful. Like I really think they should do away with that flat fee and just when you put stuff up on the market, it's up for X amount of time and you cannot take it down early. Because that fee is awful. And it means that if you were to end up in a situation where you like ran yourself out of gold, you want to try and make some gold by selling stuff on the market? Nope. Got to pay to put stuff up.
It's just frustrating because and people are selling stuff at a loss just to get it out of their inventory. Now, like me, I just drop it on the ground. Like I
just throw it on the ground.
Things I've thrown on the ground. I don't even know if it ever becomes available for other players when you throw it.
Says it doesn't.
It does not.
Nope.
Because like in Alpha, it used to like it had a timer on it that you could pick it back up, or it would eventually become a free for all. So like in town, there were constantly just random crap laying on the ground, like the bajillion green craft mods.
Yeah.
Wait, you throw those away?
Eventually.
Interesting.
So many of them. I had a stack of 560 of the lumbering.
The sap
item. The sap, yeah.
Oh, sorry. I thought you meant like the green colored items that guarantee a certain stat.
Yes. Yeah. Those things.
I don't have that many of those.
Okay. Once you get luck on your tools.
Oh.
And once you get luck trophies in your house, you're going to get a ton of that. Like, I buy ordered all my Fey Iron earlier because I don't have a use for it. It's all low-level stuff, and I can craft the same stuff without it. I buy ordered it for like 0.20 a piece. I'll let some low-level crafter do something with it.
It is a little frustrating that because of luck, I didn't see those kinds of resources until I was past the level where it was useful for me to craft the things that use them.
Yep, absolutely.
That's real frustrating because, like, I could have absolutely used that stuff to make the equivalent of Amran gear when it was my level, but, like, I had found, like, a piece of Fey Iron. I mean, now I'm swimming in Void Metal, but when it was actually useful, I I could find it. Iron or whatever. And some of that stuff's fine because you can use it in substitution of another metal, but like other stuff is just for specific crafts. But the problem with all those green crafting items is they have weight associated with them.
Yeah.
Like if they were 0 weight, I would keep them forever. But like I can get rid of all those things and like free up 100 or 200 pounds of storage. And there's no market for them, so I can't even really just even sell them. It's just frustrating that we're in the phase of the economy where everything is either really expensive or has no value at all. And like some things the market is super hungry for. Like I can put 200 gold on a flask of Azoth that I get dropped regularly, and it will sell almost instantaneously.
Azoth is crashing on the server I'm on.
We have Azoth junkies.
I definitely still sold one this morning for like 150 or something.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's not quite 200 anymore.
I feel like I should be an Azoth junkie, and yet
I'm an Azoth supplier.
Well, like if
I could bottle my Azoth, I could absolutely make profit.
Yeah, I would. And I'd rather just run places, frankly, because I'm going to gather all this stuff on the way.
I fast travel like it was my... I fast travel like a bus driver constantly.
Okay, like I wanted to go down to Reekwater, and I have run from Windsward to Reekwater just because it's a good hunting zone for farming stuff at my level. But so I ran while we were sitting here. I ran my way from Windsward down to Everfall, or up to Everfall and across into Reekwater, and now I'm running to town, and I'll dump all the stuff that's in my inventory in that vault while I'm hunting, and then I'll go pick it up on my way back out. I run all the time. Like, it's not... The zones are big, but like I feel like it is worth my time to cross them because I'm going to get stuff that I still need. Because I swear when I'm out running, I find more iron than when I'm actually looking for it. I wish there was a way that I could like do the condensed whatever thing, and like even if I had to, spend twice the amount of Azoth as whatever I bottled, I would absolutely bottle my Azoth and sell it.
So can you
always at 1,000? Can
you use? So I see it say I can use Azoth in crafting.
Yeah, sure.
Does that not make sense either?
Only if you're actually trying to craft something to use.
Yeah.
It doesn't increase your experience gain or anything. It just increases the quality of a single item.
It doesn't even. It doesn't increase gear score. It increases your chance of getting attributes and perks on that item.
Right. So if I'm making,
which you want if you're going to use it,
tools, then I'm going to use a bunch of Azoth, craft a bunch of random tools, and then take the best one. If I'm just trying to get skill ups, I'm not wasting Azoth.
Yeah.
And so, and skill ups being 90% of what you're doing in crafting is when you craft something and immediately break it apart, because
or throw it on the ground because it can't be broken apart.
That's true. Throw it on the ground because it's actually worthless.
Yeah.
You're taking things of value and making them worthless. That's how crafting works.
Yep. Because your most efficient ways to level your crafting is to craft the cheapest thing.
Well, but. And you also can't you can't even vendor it.
No,
and
you can't. Nobody wants that.
These arrows are so heavy.
No.
Well, and the best way to level Jewelcraft is to make a bunch of settings. Well, you can't do anything with the settings, and you're going to make orders of magnitude more than you will ever use to make actual items with.
Oh, I didn't realize that. I thought... Settings give you barely any XP is what I thought.
Yeah, I make amulets out of flawed gems. I've got more flawed gems than I know what to do with. I don't need them.
Well, so prime example was while the resources were plentiful, the best way to level furnishing was to make the highest level stain. which requires oil and 10 of the blue quality resource. The I forget which one it is that is. It's like solvent.
Oh yeah, the solvents. Yeah.
I have no idea where you find oil in this game.
You mine
the
it.
swamp.
I guess I haven't found swamps.
I think
there's some low-level ones.
There's a decent amount in one of the low-level zones in
First Light.
but
First Light has
First Light has some oil, but it's everywhere in Weaver's Fen.
That's a backwater I never go to.
Yeah, exactly.
Clearly I should go there to get oil.
But Weaver's Fen is the main place the oil lives.
Yeah,
like it's
if you hold that as a faction territory, the thing you get is oil every day.
Yeah. But Weaver's Fen is awful.
I love Weaver's Fen. I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm there right now, and I am in love with it.
Look, the zone's fine. The town is terrible.
I love the town.
I want a house there.
I bought a house in Weaver's Fen.
It's so badly laid out.
Fen.
But it's just so charming. Like, if you're going to be a swamp witch, that's where you should live.
I mean, okay, sure. I don't know. It reminds me of what the Flooded Quarter in Dishonored is what it reminds me of.
That's not a bad thing to me. Like, I think that's cool. I love the fact that the town is sinking into the ground. Like, I just think that's so cool. And, like, they carry that off perfectly. Like, I mean, that entire zone has so much character. Like, it's so great. I don't
know. It's also got those awful yellow electric ghosts that murder me at ranged. I hate those things.
The pestilence ones are even worse.
The pestilence ones don't drain all your stamina down to 0, so you can't even roll out of the crap that they're dropping.
I can't roll, so I don't know what that's like. All I can do is side hop.
Yeah, well.
Oh.
That's what you get for wearing heavy armor.
I mean, that roll is great.
Being able to just face tank things is also great.
Being able to face tank doesn't do much good if the thing is killing you from 500 miles away.
This is why I love repost on the rapier. That works on everything, including a bunch of stuff it probably shouldn't.
Yeah, I didn't even know those were problem mobs, the ones you're talking about, because, like, I just roll up and take care of them.
No, I hate them. They see me and they put a puddle around me that slows me, and then they hit me with electricity and take all my stamina away, and then I'm like sadly shooting arrows at them, hoping I'll kill them first.
Nope. If things are happy to stay far away from me, then I am happy for them to stay far away from me, no matter what they're doing.
The zones are so good in this game, especially as you get deep into the game. Eden Grove is just gorgeous. It's, I don't know.
I mean,
like all of the green cards in Magic the Gathering that talk about like spontaneous generation or malignant growth, where like life is just overwhelmingly growing everywhere. That's Eden Grove. Like, it's an entire zone where like nature is taking over everything in weird ways.
Oh, Thomas Covenant style.
This game is very fun to run around and kill stuff. This game is very fun to like gather materials in, but like it feels like there's a lot of systems here that this game has gate kept extremely hard. And like it's kind of demoralizing when you're like looking at your long-term like, well, am I going to be able to actually play the stuff in this game that I want to, or is it all going to be reserved for the top few?
Like I do wish there was some way to own some sort of settlement as a smaller company, like some sort of headquarters.
I don't know why they didn't put
a guild hall, if you will.
I don't know why they didn't do that. Like, I don't know why they didn't put a guild hall in.
Well, I gather they had something like that at one point.
They did.
Back when it was a pure PvP game? Yeah. So I don't know.
If I remember correctly,
once upon a time,
the territories in the outskirts areas.
Once upon a time, this game had free building a la
Landmark?
Landmark or Fortnite.
Yeah, I remember you could put like gardens and stuff like in your territories, and
It would be nice if like I have a backyard on my house. I wish I could like plant a little garden out there.
And grow whatever you can't find very easily.
Or just mow the grass a little. It's real overgrown back there. Doesn't look good.
Is quarrying for stone going to eventually be something I care about when I start building a house?
No, you just buy a house, and there may be some furnishings that use stone.
Yes,
use stone. The low level stuff is all wood and some metal and stain.
I was going to say, I've got this whole thing that's like, you can take stone and turn it into brick, and then you can use the brick to build a city. And I was like, wait, I see the problem with this system.
Like, I assume the people running towns need some of that for something. I don't know.
I wonder if I could sell it on the market board, or if they're just going to go out and harvest all of the stone themselves.
I mean, regular stone probably just harvested themselves.
Well, and yeah, to make a brick, you take 4 stone blocks and turn it into a brick block, so that's just 16 stone.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the market board, or the job board, seems to come up with stone blocks and stone bricks fairly often, so I do occasionally, when there's one of those, go out and mine up some boulders. And I guess there are some rare drops from boulders that are nice.
Yeah. Well, and I think you can also take the stone and make sharpening stones out of it. Are nice, but nobody ever uses them.
No, of course not. It seems like all of the buff consumables just don't last long enough to be worth it. Maybe some of the higher level ones have longer timers on them, but like 2 minutes of 5 minutes of plus 9% damage against a particular enemy type isn't real compelling.
Well, and you're far better just putting, like, if you're going to go hunt a specific zone, go to your house and put that trophy up that's going to be that type of mob that you're going to encounter.
Yeah.
Like, you can have all the trophies sitting in your bank and swap between them.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good.
Yeah, because like once you take down a trophy, it just goes in your bank. You can put it back up. So like if I know I'm going to farm an elite area that's ancients, for example, and I had 3 houses and 3 of the highest tier trophies, I just pop around to my 3 houses, put up the ancient trophies, and then go do the thing, and would have an easier time fighting those things.
I mean, presumably you could be using a coating on top of that for even more damage boost, but no, just seems like more work than it's worth.
And honestly, like,
maybe not.
I don't even see the point in craft. Potions drop often.
They drop a lot.
I have stacks of... Well, because, like, okay, the game has trained us to hit every chest that we see.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And chests give us lots of potions.
Yep.
They also give us lots of those sanding material. The things...
That's why you hit every chest you see, because that's the only way to get that stuff.
You can't survive in crafting without those.
Oh, I have. Interesting. I feel like I have a complete, overwhelming amount of those.
That will change.
That won't last.
Boo.
I burned through 4,000 flux today.
Upgrading any material to the next higher state takes one of those.
Great.
Yeah. I mean, that said, for now, assuming there is still a market for that, assuming there's currently a market for those on your server, those are one of the things that are actually worth something on the market board.
Interesting. Yeah, I've got like 2.
You never stop needing those.
Will sell well. Like it's enough that like whenever I did my last faction quest, something that I found out along the way is as you do your faction quests, it will reward you a huge chunk of tokens, but it will not reward you the new tokens before it upgrades your cap of tokens.
Oh, that's good to know.
So spin down to whatever amount you're going to get from finishing the quest.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's bad that it doesn't. Yeah.
It's bad that it's bad that it doesn't. But now that I know that it doesn't, I can buy material converters and other things that I might have a use for.
Right.
To spin down my tokens so that I don't lose tokens in the process. So, I mean, I'm forever converting a thing that I don't really need, like crossweave, into a thing that I do need, like flux.
This is a fascinating conversation because this sounds like the conversation of people who know how to get the amount of iron you were talking about.
Yes.
Because
that's part of it.
Because I don't know how to get that amount of iron, and as a result, like my crafts are languishing. I've not gotten to tier 2 crafting on anything,
because absolutely everything needs iron.
Everything needs iron. It's my number one gating resource, and it's incredibly frustrating.
There are some rare exceptions.
Today, harvested 8,000 iron ore.
Oh my goodness!
Like I'm specifically leveling engineering using bows because bows do not require iron.
Oh, they don't. Interesting. Because I was making iron arrows, but bows don't require iron.
Yep. Because I want that iron for other stuff.
That's a fair point. I should do that. Thank you for that statement.
I made fishing poles. That's how I got to the ability to craft star metal tools in engineering. Was I made tons and tons and tons of fishing poles. And you can make bows too, because it's the same. It's the same resources almost exactly. I just figured, I'll make fishing poles instead. I should probably do that again. And make weirdwood fishing poles. But, like, there's something about making the wood components that's just mind-numbing. Because it's so much... Like, it's easier to get the things, but you need so much stuff.
So much wood.
Like, you just, like, fill up your inventory. Like, this is me in furnishing. Like, I will fill up my inventory with wood. And it will give me a single skill up. By the time I have condensed it all down to lumber and then crafted items with it, I have gotten a single skill up from filling my entire inventory with wood. And at this point, I can carry over 1,000 weight.
Wow.
Yeah, bags are awesome.
If you are around level 50, go up to Ebon Scale Reach. And there's a quest you can do, and you can't equip it until level 52, but you can get a free tier 4 bag.
Ooh, that's good to know. Not quite there yet, but I'll keep that in mind.
Like killing some alligators, and that's it. And somewhere there's a
gators
tier
are
5
rough.
bag that you can get, and I haven't found that quest. I need to spend time knocking out quests so that I can unbury all of the legendary weapon quests.
Yeah.
Because there's like some quests for like 580 weapons. And, like, I bought a nice sword off the market, and it's only 562, so it would still be an upgrade. This game has got systems within systems, and grinds within grinds. But also, like, I still am enjoying the process, even though, like, I've done all this harvesting and crafting for maybe 10 skill levels today.
Well, but, I mean, this is, again, the thing, like... you guys sold me on this game because it's like Valheim, and so going out and just getting a bunch of resources, this is a game that I can have fun with, like, while I'm just doing that. And I can even, like, watch a TV show on my other screen while I play this game. This is a very good game for that. I feel like most of the other MMOs I'm playing at this point demand a lot more of my attention, which I do appreciate. But I do feel like there are some things in this game that I am frustrated by, and like iron ore is definitely one of those because it's probably over required and lower supply unless you know the secrets.
Well, and honestly, it's not that it's under supply. It's just there's no other resource in the game that is as in contention as iron ore. Like it is needed by everything.
Yeah, like hemp is pretty well needed for a lot of stuff, but it's not quite where iron ore is.
Well,
hemp was the thing that I had absolutely none of for the longest time.
And then I found the place to farm it.
Yeah, I found a couple of places to farm hemp now.
Because I started
by these pirates that's just full of hemp.
Oh yeah, I found a few places, but because I started in Monarch's Bluffs, and there's just not any hemp in most of Monarch's Bluffs.
Yes.
Right outside of town, in that village with all the lost, there's, I think 5-6 spawns, but like it's real scarce.
Yeah, and I'm sure people were hitting those as quick as they came up.
The island in Monarch's Bluff has a decent amount of hemp, but again, yeah, it's also not great. There is a field, an actual hemp field that has like 30 hemp spawns in Monarch's Bluff.
Oh, there's one of those in, I forget which zone. There's one of those in another zone too. I run past it every so often, and it's full.
There's a couple of places like that in Windsward.
Yeah, I think it was Windsward.
Hemp, if you need hemp and you need it quickly, go to Mourningdale, which, I mean, it's a high-level zone, but God, there's a lot of hemp in Mourningdale. And it's all the biggest stocks of hemp. So, like, you can fill your inventory with hemp real fast in that zone. And it's, like, right outside of town.
All right. That might be, once again, why the contention for it appears to have dropped so much. Because, like, it used to be if I saw hemp, like, I had to race to get there before somebody else did. And now I can be harvesting some hemp and see people run past. And I know they're close enough that they could have seen it. But, you know, they've got better things to do.
There's a lot of resources that become way easier in the later zones, but iron never really hits that point. So, like, you kind of have to know the routes. Silver at this point is a trash metal. Nobody is farming silver.
I mean,
so few people are leveling jewel crafting.
I pick it up to turn into amulets for jewel crafting because precious metals are where the gems drop out of. But, you know, I will skip silver if it's too far away to be worth my worth my time.
A very minor, I mean, maybe not a minor complaint. I complained about this a lot offline. They really need to have something on the map in cities to show you where the teleporter is.
Yeah, there is a no sign for the teleporter. However, you don't actually have to go to a teleporter.
Not in town.
Wait, what?
You can teleport from in town. You can teleport anywhere from in town. You don't have to walk over to the
goodness. I had no idea.
And so you have to go find the teleporter when you first arrive at a town.
Yeah, basically all the teleporters, you have to be within the teleporter's zone, which for teleporters out in the world is a little teeny tiny area. So yeah, you have to be basically on top of it. But for the towns, it's the entire town. You just have to be somewhere in there.
Good to know.
So there were a bunch of untrue things that I heard about level 60. First, I heard that gold drops every time you kill something when you hit level 60.
Well, that'd be nice.
That is a lie. I'm pretty sure that coin or two that you get from killing things is dictated by luck.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I have more luck now, therefore I see more coin.
That makes sense.
So, like, as I get into the higher areas, I get more coins. So, like, I'll get 10 coins when one of those procs. The other thing that I heard over and over and over is that, like, weapon XP is just easier to get when you hit 60. And that is a partial truth.
Is it if you're fighting level 60 mobs?
No. What I had heard was that everything rewards the same amount of experience as though you were fighting on level mobs. That is not true. However, like, I can walk outside of Windsward, hit a level 5 wolf, and get 15 weapon experience.
Oh, wow.
So
that's better than you would at lower levels.
Right. And so, like, I still get way more experience if I kill a silver border elite or a gold border elite. I get, like, I don't know, 60-ish for a silver and 100-ish for a gold. But what I think is happening is the experience that I used to get for leveling me as a person, I think is now going to weapon experience. So it's still, I get more experience for weapon experience for killing higher level things, but it's not as big of a difference as it once was. So, like, if you just want to level a weapon pretty quickly, you can just run around any zone and kill everything, which I now understand accounts for the behavior that I was seeing of a level 60 just careening from mob to mob to mob, not stopping to loot anything.
Yep.
Because I'm doing it now too. As I'm crossing zones, I am whacking everything because it's a little bit of experience. So I've put on like 5 levels of experience in Great Axe since dinging 60. I will say, like, 60 plus mobs hit way harder than anything before. And a lot of these zones are populated with like level 63, level 64 mobs. The rifts that you fight are level 65 rifts. So, I mean, the end game of this zone is definitely keyed around group activity. I mean, as a tank, I can run around and work my way through zones, but I still have to be very careful of things spawning in behind me. Which, again, reminds me of Everquest, because I used to solo as a cleric in Everquest, and I would have to be real careful about breaking the zone in a specific order and staying ahead of the respawn. And I kind of have to do the same thing in areas that are 60-ish areas in this game. So, like, people have said they didn't understand my equivalency to Everquest, but, like, there's a lot of ways that this game works that feels like it did in Everquest. And I don't necessarily mean that in a bad way, but they have managed to make a game that maintains a dangerous edge to it. I can't just run amok. Because, like, I am fairly well geared at this point.
I mean, I like when I can't just run amok. It makes for a more interesting game.
Yeah.
Gone way over at this point, and I didn't intend to talk about New World the entire time. But it happened.
It's the new hotness.
One of these days, they're going to figure out, well, hopefully they'll figure out region transfer, and then I'll join you on your server and still be way behind.
Yeah, but, like, you're not going to get any further behind at this point, really.
Yeah.
I mean, because at this point, like, the thing that I need to do is the thing that everybody needs to do, which is just get out into the world and kill things and get drops. And I have so many quests that I need to do at this point. I need to spend some time cleaning those up. But I'm hoping, like, in the coming weeks, we'll have a little group of people that can run around and do stuff. Hopefully you enjoyed the show, and we will see you again next week. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. See ya.